Hey friends, welcome to my channel. I'm Heidi and today we're going to be doing 5 country charm ideas for the fall. And now all of my products are going to be using Dollar Tree items where you can do these things on a budget. Now friends, I love color and I've always loved color, and the theme of this video, which is a new series that I'm going to be starting here on my channel, are red tones with gray tones and a creamy ivory white. Alright, let's get crafting. These are the supplies that I am using for this craft idea. I'm going to pop out these little wood decals that they had inside of 2 of these frames that I picked up from the Dollar Tree. And then I'm also going to remove the screws and the hanger off the back side, put that to the side. I'll use it on another day for another project, I'm sure. And then we're going to take our drill, and on the 3rd sign I'm going to drill a hole in the middle. And then very cautiously on one of these little wooden squares you can pick up in the craft section at the Dollar Tree, I'm going to take my time drilling in a hole into the square. Now I'm going to take some hot glue and a shish kebab stick. I'm going to poke that down in there, and then I'm going to add some glue to the back side of this sign, and I'm going to thread that through and hot glue, making sure that it's in place and making sure that this is now going to be able to be used to thread on the topper of this lantern we're making. Now you can see with this little mini candle stem holder, I drilled a hole in the bottom. I also drilled a hole on the top so that I can thread it onto this shish kebab stick here. And this is going to be able to create this really cool finial topper to this lantern. That drill hole that I created inside of the candle stem is now going to hold this other shish kebab stick. I'm going to glue it in place and cut it down so that I can add on this mini finial topper. Now at this point we have created the top handle to our lantern, which I think it turned out so cool, and it is built so well that you're not going to have any problems with it popping off if you just only use hot glue. You could do that, but I have kids and I want my stuff to be able to be picked up without worrying it's going to break. So this is the reason why I took all these steps. Then I glued it to the sign, and now at this point I'm going to start cutting down all my tongue depressor sticks by chopping off all the rounded parts, the tips of it, and making sure they're all the same length. Now I'm going to start constructing the sides of my lantern. Now you have a couple options at this point. You could just do 4 corners and use a different type of wood in there, but I wanted it to have a really pretty backer. I wanted it to look more like a vintage lantern you would see on a front porch. I thought that the sides and the back really gave it that look, and I had so much fun coming up with this idea and just playing with it, and the inspiration that I saw once on a house. I thought this would be so cool. So once it was all assembled on the sides and the back, I took it outside and spray painted a dark gray color. Now I'm going to take one of these battery operated candles from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to take a piece of foam square, cut it down to size, and I'm going to just poke that candle down in there so it can be a nice holding place so I can take it in and out. I'm also going to poke some holes in with a pin, so that way it allows me to add in any greenery that I want on this to camouflage where the candle is going to be hidden and held inside of. Now another option, instead of doing all of this part, you could always end up putting a actual thicker, larger stand-up candle from, you know, a light-up candle kit. You can get them all over the place around this time of year for really great deals. But basically this is how I'm doing mine. I'm using one from the Dollar Tree to show you that I'm doing it all on budget. Added on all my greenery, some moss to cover up that foam, and the last thing I'm going to do, because I wanted that country charm, I'm going to add on this gingham ribbon, and to make sure that it stays inside of that foam, I'm attaching it to a popsicle stick, tying a knot, and now I'm going to just glue it all in place and stick that right down in there. And I think that this turned out so darling. You can turn the light on and off whenever you're ready to use it. I am going to use one of these faux apples and a long skewer stick, and we are going to pop out the stem of this apple because we are making a faux candy apple. I love candy apples so much. It's one of my favorite treats. Leave a comment down below to let me know what's one of your favorite fall treats. So once I've cut down my dowel or my skewer stick, I'm going to poke that in and glue it in replacement of the stem. And now, if you've ever seen a candy apple, you'll know that when you dip it into caramel or chocolate and you put it on a tray, it has it pool up at the bottom. So we're going to recreate that with some hot glue. Now I went around it multiple times making sure I got it as smooth as I could, and then I placed it on a glass plate. Remember, if you try this, place it on the glass plate and not a plastic plate because it will get stuck. So with the glass plate, I'm using a butter knife and I'm just slowly easing it off the plate, and it pops off after I went around it a couple times, and it looks just like it would look if you dipped it into chocolate or caramel. And now I'm going to come in with my scissors and clean up that edge a little bit and make sure that there's no strings on that from the hot glue. And then I'm going to take brown paint that looks as close as you can get to caramel, and I'm going to add on a nice thick amount, making sure that it's able to be smooth and a thick coat. Then to make sure that I really got the look I was going for, that it got dipped in and pulled out, I'm tapping it to make sure all the paint is rolling down off the apple and it's pulling up towards the bottom of that hot glue. Friends, this project was so much fun and really easy to make. I highly recommend it. Once I had all of that paint on there and it was smooth as I can get it, I took my heat gun and very, very lightly went over it. Don't stay too long because you will start to melt the apple. And then the last thing I did was just add a darling red and white gingham bow at the top, and it's ready to be displayed. For this project, we're going to be using this oh so popular sign that I use here a lot on my channel. I'm going to pop off that Happy Holidays, take off that ribbon and staples, and then I'm going to patch those holes from the staples with some putty, dry it, and then sand it to make sure it's all the same flat surface so that I can get to my next step. Now I'm going to take some white paint and give it a nice thick coat of white paint on it. And from there, I'm going to sketch on the word apples. Now I have had a theme going this fall 2021. I thought apples would be so fun because I just think apples are really cute to decorate with for the fall, and it just gives it that country charm. So at this point, I went ahead and sketched out my word apples, and I'm coming back in with my thick paintbrush, and I'm just kind of doing almost like a sloppy job on purpose. I wanted the letters to look thick and bulky like you would see on some type of a cute country roadside rest stop where you can pick up some, maybe like a fruit stand. I just think that this would be so cute out on a shelf for the fall time. And now I'm going to come in and just really rough it up like it has been outside in the weather for some time. I think the rougher this sign looks, the cuter it gets. And then I'm just coming in with an even darker, almost like a dark grayish brown color, and just really roughing it up. Like I said, it's been outside. Now I want to clean up the back side so we don't see the elf, which that's cute for Christmas, but we're working on the fall. So I'm going to trace out a line on the fabric for the size that I need and then just cut it off. And then I'm going to glue that to the back to really clean it up because I love a finished backside to all my signs. And this really just is so easy to do. It takes just seconds. Then on the front side, I decided, this is the reason why I shifted the word apple over a little bit more. I wanted to add something to the left. So I'm now going to add on some fabric that matches the back and do a little simple knot. Added a little bit of a cute charm by kind of ruffling up the ends of that. I added in some of this boxwood, a little apple. Of course we have to add a little apple to it. So I put a little shish kebab stick down in there and glued that into place. And then the last thing I'm going to do is just add on this darling little chalk sign so we know how much our apples cost, which I'm going to decide to paint on 25 cents because I just think that this is the finishing touch of it and it looks so cute on a shelf. I hope you will give this one a try. I had so much fun making it and I know you will too. Now we're moving on to project number 4. We are going to be using some burlap, some wood. I happen to have these long signs from the Dollar Tree that I've been cutting up and using over time, some of these mini candlestick holders, and then these little finial toppers. Now we're going to take that wood first and we are going to cut it down so we have 4 of the same size. You do not have to use these signs. You can use any wood you happen to have on hand, like a 2x4. Anything you have on hand would work for this. Now I'm going to cut it down so that it is 3.5 inches long. And because we're going to be making these cute little mini signs, I'm going with 3.5 inches. You could do it bigger. Again, you can make these much larger in size if you wanted to. I'm going to take my drill and drill into the holes of the candle holders so that way we can glue in some of these shish kebab sticks, and this is really going to allow the base and the wood to come together and have a nice strong hold, so if you drop it, it doesn't pop off. Now here are my 4 pieces that I cut down to size, and I'm going to now drill a hole in these. Whenever I work with my drill, I really do just take my time. I'm not rushing through this because I definitely am not securing it to anything, so that's always my tip. If you're using tools, take your time, don't rush through it. I love having a drill in my craft room. This is actually the one I keep in my craft room all the time so I can use it. Now I'm going to add some glue onto that shish kebab stick and the stand, and you're going to see how that is going to hold in there and really lock it all in place without it ever popping off and having a problem. If you just added hot glue to the base, it's going to pop off over time. So I really always love to try to show you all that it's so important to take these extra little steps just to make sure everything's locked in and built well. Now I'm going to take my little finial topper and my shish kebab stick, and I'm going to repeat that same locked in process where I drill a hole, add a shish kebab stick between them, and then I took it outside, gave it a nice coat of gray spray paint to go with my color theme for this project. And I did a white wash on it, and now I'm going to cut down some of this white burlap, glue that right on to the front, and at this point you can really see it coming to life. Now at first I painted these letters orange, major regret. So I'm going to now go over it with black, and I really just love how the black letters pop and stand out with the gray and that creamy burlap. I think this is so beautiful for a home decor piece, and it costs pennies to make. For this DIY, we're going to be using this sign from the Dollar Tree and some burlap. We're going to take off that twine string, and I'm going to repurpose it so I popped it off. And we're going to paint the back side once the sticker's removed a beautiful red apple color. Once I'd gone all over the whole thing and it's dried, I went ahead and cut out my burlap, and I wanted to make sure that the sides are a little rough, so I did pull some of the fibers to make sure that those are nice and rough on the edge to give it that country charm. And now I'm going to just glue it down onto my sign. Now at this point, you could always use a stencil, you could cut out a piece of paper and trace on the S. There's so many ways to do an S. I'm just going to freehand my S, but what we're doing is we're making a monogram sign, because this has such a charming look on a front door, sitting on a shelf, hanging up on a wall, and it's just so fun to take a simple sign from the Dollar Tree that wasn't ugly to begin with, it was cute, but we're now going to personalize it and really make it something special. Friends, the whole point to me sharing these projects here on my channel is to encourage you to use your hands to make something beautiful for your home on an affordable budget. I do not think home decor should ever cost a lot. I think it should be something that brings us joy and makes it feel like us. Now at this point, my S has been painted on and it's dried, and I'm going to go ahead and reattach my twine back onto it so I can hang it up. And then I'm going to show you how I make my bow. Now I did a video a while ago on how to make a bow. I will link that down below if you're interested on all the different types of bows I make. But this is basically how I make my bow. I take one long ribbon and meet the ends into the middle. Then I pinch it in the middle, and I take this extra piece that I folded down real thin like you just saw me do, and I'm just going to wrap it around it and hold and glue that into place. Then I'm going to cut off that extra part that we don't want on there, fluff out that bow, and already doesn't it look like the most perfect tied bow just because we did this step? Sometimes trying to tie a bow, especially with a pattern being on a bow, it's very tricky. Then at this point, I'm going to take the tails, I'm going to pinch the fabric, and I want you to think of it in a zigzag or a Z shape where you're going to fold it over in a pleat and glue on one side and the other side of that Z to make sure it's locking all into place. And then you're going to just add that to the back side of that bow. And this is how you make the most perfect looking bow. This is even how stores make it. If you ever take apart a bow from a store, they make them just like this too. Years ago, I used to work at a family-owned party store, and I learned how to make bows, and it was just so much fun working in the balloon shop and wrapping presents. I loved this job so much when I was a teenager. It was the best. And then once your bow is all done, you can go ahead and just glue that right on. And then because this is Country Charm, we got to layer those bows, my friends. So we're going to add on this gingham double looped bow. And then I thought it would be so cute to take this star button, because buttons are a thing with this Country Charm too. I'm going to take some twine and tie a bow onto the front of that star. And then I'm just going to glue that right on there. And this bow is just really speaking to us at this point. I think all of these layers are just so cute. Now make sure to clean up your backside with some extra fabric, and it's ready to be displayed. Now I want to say thank you to everyone who clicked on this to watch and gave this video a thumbs up. It always means so much to my heart to have you join me as fellow crafters. Thank you so much for being my friend. I hope you had fun with this video and to try some new color themes in your home. I think apples are just such a fun, fresh thing to do for the fall. I definitely love pumpkins, but apples are just so fun, and the color scheme just makes me so happy with this one. Now I'm going to recommend a couple videos for you right here if you were interested in this one. I just had a brand new mega video come out with 30 fall DIYs. So make sure you check that out. And until the next episode, bye friends.